very, very difficult. Person like me now, I have to trek all the way from where I'm coming from. Before I get cash, it's very difficult. I have to just trek. If you meet some of these POS people, they will even charge you more than what you're expecting. So, how much am I getting? How much am I going to pay for POS? Before you even pay transport, go to a bank. Very, very difficult to get cash nowadays. Government should set up a task force that go through all these banks. All these banks that is they are the one that hold this that hold money. The thing they don't want to release the money. I think there's money inside banks, so the government should set up a task force so that they can go to all these banks. I think I just read VMont last week ago that they should report the bank, any bank that don't want to release bank. I think they should set a task force that can they can do something about it.
It has been affecting me mostly in most of the transactions I carry out on daily basis. Now, most of those transactions I use cash for. I usually do transfer. And not only doing that transfer that is the matter, a lot of charges attached to it. And you getting the cash, the amount you pay to get like 5,000 before, you pay like 100 naira, but now it is more than that. I think one of the ways government needs to look at it is that when it comes to withdrawal limits, they should increase the withdrawal limit across the counter, because normally if I stand to be corrected, maybe the a weekly withdrawal limit for an individual is 100,000 across the counter in the bank. If they can increase it to 200,000 or more, it will be better to ease the problem of cash scarcity in this country.
Yeah, the scarcity of cash, to me, it doesn't affect me because I prefer going cashless. I don't go around with cash. I prefer going around with my ATM card, and I have my bank apps on my phone so I can easily make a transfer. Even if there is no network, I can still use my USSD code to make my transfer. So I prefer going around like that.
The thing has not been easy for everybody. And one of the reasons is because if you check, most of these bankers, they are the people that are having all these POS machines. So even if you go to the POS machine, you can't get cash. You have to come to these roadside guys that are doing POS before you get cash. And even them, they have not given them much cash so that they can gain more. Like if you want to get like 3K, 5K, you have to pay almost 400, 500 to get that kind of thing. So it's really, hard on people.
It's affecting me so seriously because if we go to bank now, you couldn't get the cash. We'll be there on queue, suffering, but we end up getting nothing. We don't know what is known to the government for the issue of this scarcity cash. But we are pleading with the government to look into the matter and solve this problem.
Welcome to Global News on Signature TV. I'm Charles Pius. In the headlines, Tinubu appoints Nwakuche Ndidi, Acting Comptroller General of Prisons. Central Bank of Nigeria says old redesigned Naira notes remain valid. Syrians explore Assad family's massive summer resorts for first time. And France's Macron names veteran centrists Barrow as new prime minister. Details in a moment. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Nwakuche Ndidi as the Acting Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service. In a statement released on Friday, the Secretary of the Civil Defense Correctional Fire and Immigration Board, Jafaru Ahmed, announced Ndidi's appointment will officially begin on December 15, 2024. His appointment comes after the conclusion of the term of the current Controller General Haliru Nabada. Nwakuche, born on November 26, 1966, hails from Oguta in Imo State. Until his appointment, he was the Deputy Controller General in charge of the Training and Staff Development Directorate. He is the Fellow of the prestigious National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies and holds the national honor of Member of the Federal Republic. The President further enjoined him to bring his wealth of experience to bear in his new capacity. The Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council has signed a partnership agreement with the state government. The deal is expected to foster economic growth, drive investment, and cement ENUGU's position as a business hub in Africa. Correspondent Chidemere Mikebunam reports.
The partnership agreement with the state government is expected to foster economic growth, drive investment, and cement ENUGU's drive to become a business hub in Africa. According to the Chief Executive of Council, Rosie Glazebrook, the full partnership with the state government will commence next year. The council, she said, has identified the state as an attractive investment destination, citing the state's introduction of ENUGU Airline, convention centers, school programs, and other infrastructures as key attractions and enablers.
Our organisation is really there to drive trade and investment, and we do this through our very excellent convening power, and I'm hoping that we'll bring this to bear with our partnership with ENUGU State. We're really looking forward to the Commonwealth Trade and Investment Summit, which happens annually, in London, and His Excellency has received and accepted the invitation to lead the Governors' Round Table there to showcase some of the amazing opportunities that exist in ENUGU.
Governor Peter Mbah welcomed the partnership, expressing his appreciation for the value and relevance CWEIC QEC brings to the table. He noted that the strategic partnership aligns with his administration's objectives to grow the state's economy and transform ENUGU into a business hub and conferencing center in Africa.
All the steps we've taken is about connecting the dots, making sure that we put in place the infrastructure that would enable these investments to flow. We also recognize that businesses are not able to de-risk things like security, and so we identify that as the biggest elephant in the room when we took office. So we immediately addressed that frontally, and I can proudly say today that ENUGU is about the safest city to live in. We've invested hugely in the security infrastructure.
The partnership between ENUGU State and CWEIC QEC is expected to unlock new opportunities for economic growth, investment, and development. With the council's extensive network and expertise, ENUGU State is well positioned to attract investors, create jobs, and improve the lives of its citizens. Chinemerem Ikebuna, Signature TV News.
The Chinese People's Liberation Army Defense University (PLA) has sought robust collaboration with the Nigerian Army towards promoting a better understanding of training and military education between the two armies. This is contained in a statement by the Director, Army Public Relations, Major General Onyema Nwachukwu, on Friday in Abuja after the Chief of Army Staff, COS, Olufemi Oloyede, received the PLA delegation led by Rear Admiral Hu Gangfeng. Leader of the Chinese delegation, Rear Admiral Gang Feng, expressed China's commitment to international cooperation and preferred solution or support to the Nigerian Army in the area of training. The delegation comprises representatives from various departments of theater, command, military services, and course participants who are in Nigeria to exchange ideas with their counterparts to foster a robust relationship. In his response, Oloyede, represented by the Deputy Chief of Training Army, Musa Etsu Ndagi, highlighted Nigerian Army's experience in combating terrorism and insurgency. Oloyede emphasized the importance and effectiveness of tailoring operations to address specific security threats. He said that sustained training, equipping, and dynamic operational strategies had enhanced the NA's operational effectiveness in the ongoing fight against terrorists and insurgents in the country. He added that this had enabled the troops to decimate the terrorists and curb terrorism threats. The Special Brigade of the Nigerian Army has neutralized scores of Lukarawa bandits and destroyed about 22 camps in Sokoto and Kebbi State. The theater commander of the operation, Fansa Nyama Oloyinka Soyele, disclosed this to newsmen on Friday in Sokoto. Speaking through the acting general officer commanding the 8th Division of Nigerian Army Sokoto, Bikunle Ajose, Soyele said that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, for the exercise. He noted that his successes were recorded through fresh onslaughts launched against Lukarawa bandits that led to the destruction of bandits' camps. He charged the troops to ensure destruction of the Lukarawa sects and enjoined them to abide by the rules of engagement and ensure the protection of the lives and property of law-abiding citizens. Soyele further highlighted that troops have been selected and trained for the mission, hence Nigerians are counting on their ability and professionalism to flush out the Lukarawas. He added that the special operation was to ensure that total elimination of the Lukarawa sects in Sokoto and Kebbi State. The Minister of Police Affairs, Senator Ibrahim Gaidam, has commended the synergy between the Nigerian Police Force and the Nigerian Police Trust Fund, NPTF, in enhancing the capacity of police personnel. Gaidam gave the commendation on Friday in Abuja during the groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of a modern and smart divisional police headquarters in Mpape, Abuja. This project includes the construction of rank and file quarters for personnel of the force. Gaidam, represented by the Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Police Affairs, Yusuf Arugungu, said it would enhance the security of lives and property in the area. According to him, with the police divisional headquarters, citizens commuting every day for their daily activities will be protected from the danger of kidnapping, one chance, armed robbery, and other related crimes. He urged the Nigerian police force to continue to promote synergy with citizens and other security agencies to uphold the responsibility of law enforcement and prosecuting offenders. The Executive Secretary of NPTF, Mohammed Shaidu, said the execution of the project was more than just bricks and mortar. He said the project represents the collective resolve of NPTF and other stakeholders to provide the police with modern infrastructure. According to him, the idea is to enhance the operational capacity of the force and improve the welfare of its personnel. He said the commitment, guidance, and collaboration was instrumental to the vision of modernizing police infrastructure and improving the welfare of its officers. Shaidu said the divisional headquarters would feature state-of-the-art facilities, while the rank and quarters would provide decent and comfortable housing for police personnel. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, on Friday urged owners of the federal government-owned lands and houses in Lagos State to remit their ground rents to the government's coffers. Dangiwa said this during a stakeholder citizens engagement on land administration and a physical assessment of Banana Island, Osborne Phase 1 and 2, Parkview, Foreshore Estates and Shorelines. He said that the ministry planned to optimize its revenue collections by ensuring that all the occupiers of federal government's assets pay their ground rents to enable it to improve on the facilities. According to him, while the federal government is committed to renovating, safeguarding and optimizing the value of its assets nationwide, it will also enforce strict compliance to its land and estates administration laws. Dangiwa said that the Ministry of Housing, under the renewed hope agenda of the President Bola Tinubu, had resolved to restore order in federal land and asset management. The minister directed the estates associations to stay within their limits, noting that they have the right to collect facility management fees based on agreements with the occupants of the estate. He warns that whatever the occupants agree to pay should be used to maintain the estate in terms of electricity, roads, and all other facilities they use in the estate. This is known to be the facility management fees which all estates usually charge. On the need for the collaboration between the ministry and the Lagos state government in resolving land disputes, the minister said the both parties had agreed to form a joint committee. He said the committee was expected to resolve long-standing land issues and foster a coordinated approach to land administration across the state. He said that the federal and state governments were in talks to harmonize payment of tax on its assets and land administration to address double taxation on owners of the federal government estates and lands. Dangiwa said that the stakeholder engagement on land administration provided an opportunity to share insights and contribute to the federal government strategy for sustainable urban development. The federal government says it is collaborating with the World Bank to scale up rural access and agricultural marketing projects in Nigeria. The Minister of the State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Abdullahi, stated this at a news conference on Friday in Abuja. He said that RAMP project was ongoing and had been implemented across 19 states of the Federation. The minister said that out of the 19 states, 16 have already passed laws establishing their state's rural access rural authority alongside the State Rural Fund. Abdullahi, who underscored the importance of the rural access and agricultural marketing project, said most of the movements in rural areas were due to agricultural marketing. The minister said that these projects was intended to institutionalize the idea of developing rural areas in Nigeria. Abdullahi said if this is done, it would create new development domains while also developing agricultural clusters that will support economic diversification drive. In a remark, the National Coordinator RAMP Aminu Mohammed said the objectives of the project was improvement of rural routes as well as supporting improvement of agricultural marketing. Mohammed said that RAMP is in tandem with President Bola Tinubu's request to attain food security in the country. Up ahead, Bauchi's SSD resigns, Chief of Staff takes over. Appeal Court sets aside order restraining release of funds to Rivers State. We'll bring you details of these and more after this. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching Global News on Signature TV. 98 youths from Ebonyi State have completed their training at the Master Skills Development and Services Limited, Albani, in ENUGU State. They are the beneficiaries of Francis Ubona Nwifuru Empowerment Program, designed to equip individuals with skills in agriculture and entrepreneurship. Correspondent Belinda Nwobodo was at the graduation ceremony and now reports.
The program, which is the brainchild of the Ebonyi State Governor, Francis Nwifuru, is a testament to the commitment of the Ebonyi State government to foster the spirit of self-reliance among the citizens and grow the economy of the state. The Chief Executive Officer of Master Skill Development and Services Limited, Onyemuche Nnamani, emphasized the significance of skills acquisition as a tool for self-reliance and development.
We have the people, we have the resources, we have the farms, we have the manpower, but they are not trained, they are not skilled. The motivation is from a yawning gap in society, very big gap, where we are still in subsistence farming, just little farming. This is going on high-tech farming that will save us.
Ebonyi State Commissioner for Human Capital Development and Monitoring, Anne Aliigwe, who represented Governor Francis Nwifuru, commended the participants and assured them of government support. She said the state government has plans to provide them with financial support by January 2025 to enable them start vigorous ventures.
Utilizing the knowledge you got from this place. Because I know that you were drilled in entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship, you learn how to package yourself. You know that your swag now and the one you left home is never the same. Yes. So I want you people, as you're coming back home tomorrow, to package yourselves and behave like millionaires.
A key resource person for the training, Professor Ben Mariwe, applauded the graduates for their dedication and emphasized the importance of skill acquisition in driving economic transformation, particularly in the agricultural sector.
To gain skill and knowledge in various aspects of agricultural entrepreneur, including pig production, poultry production, fish production, and other agro crops and plants like cassava, palm tree production, and palm kernel and palm oil production, and even rice and cassava farming.
The 98 graduates who completed the 7 weeks of rigorous training expressed gratitude for the program and shared their experiences and aspirations.
Here, what we are trained here is the modern agricultural best practices of planting rice, producing rice and processing it, cassava, fishery, piggery, and then poultry.
We've been here, we've been empowered, we've been trained. We've been trained in fishery, we've been trained in poultry, piggery, and all of that. So we are satisfied with the teachings, and we got it very well.
We've gotten the skills for new generation agriculture. So today we are happy that our graduates.
When I get back to my place, I will be happy to establish this business.
The graduation ceremony featured the symbolic presentation of certificates to the successful trainees. The Francis Ogbonnawifuru Empowerment Program is through the scheme making giant strides in equipping young people with the skills needed to transform the agricultural sector and reduce unemployment in Ebonyi State. And as the slogan of FONEP goes, feeding nations, empowering people, this initiative has no doubt set the precedence for sustainable empowerment in the region. Belinda Wobodo for Signature TV.
Of the old 1,500 and 200 Naira banknotes as legal tender, clarifying misinformation circulating about their status. In a statement signed by Hakama Sidi Ali, the acting director of corporate communications on Friday, the Apex Bank confirmed that the Supreme Court ruling on November 29, 2023 permits the indefinite circulation of both old and new designs of these denominations. The CBN stressed that all versions of the Naira old and redesigned 1,500 and 200 Naira notes, as well as commemorative and previous designs of the 100 Naira notes, remain valid for transactions. According to the statements, the bank dismissed claims, suggesting that the old series of these denominations would cease to be legal tender by December 31, 2024. The CBN urged Nigerians to continue using both old and redesigned banknotes for their daily transactions while handling the notes with care to ensure their longevity. Also, the bank encouraged the public to adopt alternative payment channels such as electronic banking platforms to reduce reliance on physical cash. This clarification comes amidst growing concerns and confusion among public about the legal status of the old Naira notes as Nigerians struggle with cash scarcity. A professor of mass communication, Sonny Udeze, has emphasized the crucial role of the media in societal development, stating that the media serves as a catalyst for improvements and provides a platform for diverse perspectives and critics. Udeze, while discussing the autobiography of his colleague, Professor Ike Ndolo, commended Professor Ndolo for sharing his life story, noting that the book delves deeper into factors that shaped Professor Ndolo's life and career. The professor, who appeared on Signature TV's morning show, addressed the pressing issue of academic integrity, particularly the extortion of money and sex from students by some lecturers.
From the time that Ndolo came back to when he retired, he has been able, alongside some of us also, to create a new level of awareness in the field of mass communication. Because outside what they did, some of the people you hear that are professors now at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, at Ebonyi State University, in ESUT, and in Mariam, we are taught by us, So I think he has done a very remarkable thing. I don't think that staying back in US, he would have impacted on Nigerians and Nigerian society the way he did.
Significance of mentorship, citing his own experience as a beneficiary of guidance and support from his mentors.
To start with, most people who found themselves in the field of mass communication, I would say they did not come there by accident. They were conscious, they were enthusiastic, they were actually propelled to go into mass communication because of what they believe that mass communication has done and is doing in the lives of people and in the society.
He encouraged younger lecturers to emulate Ndolo's approach, emphasizing that doing good and being a positive influence can have a lasting impact on individuals and society. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has highlighted the importance of information management. According to Idris, information management is not merely a tool of administration, but the lifeblood of democracy and development. The minister spoke at the 48th National Council of Information and National Orientation in Kaduna State on Friday. Speaking to the theme, Enhancing Public Information Management for Inclusive Governance, the Renewed Hope Agenda in Focus, he said it underscores the critical role of public information in bridging the gap between government policies and the aspirations of the Nigerian people. The Secretary to the State Government SSD of Bauchi State, Ibrahim Mohammed Kashim, has resigned from his position with his resignation accepted by Governor Bala Mohammed. His resignation was announced in a press statement signed and issued on Friday by the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Governor, Mukhtar Gidado. Following the resignation, Governor Mohammed directed the Chief of Staff at the Government House, Dr. Aminu Hassan Kamawa, to assume the role of SSG in an acting capacity. Mohammed expressed gratitude on behalf of the governments and people of the states for Kashim's service, commending his contributions to the state's progress while wishing him success in his future endeavors. Meanwhile, details are still sketchy as to the reasons behind Kashim's decision to resign at the time of writing this report. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Yusuf Ali, has called for the adoption of a 6-year single term for the offices of presidents and state governors in the country. Ali disclosed this in Ifetedo, Osun State on Friday at the inauguration of the remodeled Central Mosque for the town, a project he financed. The legal practitioner said the adoption of a 6-year term of office for the office of the president and state governors would not only end self-succession while serving the first term, but would also prevent fights that usually characterize relationships among politicians. He noted that a 6-year single term of office remains a good option for Nigeria's political system, lamenting that lack of character has also affected negatively governance in the country. Speaking further, Ali said Nigeria's constitution has enough provisions to deal with bad leadership, but blamed challenges the country is facing operating the law on lack of character. Speaking on why he embarked on the remodeling of the mosque, Ali said the project was a response to the divine call. The Federal High Court, Abuja, on Friday granted the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahya Bello, bail in the sum of 500 million naira with 2 sureties in like sum. This was as after the former governor had pleaded not guilty to the 19-count charges brought against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He is facing an alleged money laundering trial to the tune of 80 billion naira, but pleaded not guilty to all the charges. When the case was called for hearing on Friday, counsels for the AFCC, Kemi Pinheiro, SAN, notified the court of the intention of the prosecution to withdraw an earlier application for abridgment of the earlier date fixed for arraignment. They said the application had been overtaken by events. The defendant's counsel, led by Joseph Daudu, SAN, did not object, and Justice Emeka Nwite accordingly granted the request. After the defendant had taken his plea, Daudu, SAN, made clarifications on the reasons he had not been in court during the previous hearings. While moving an application for bail, they assured that the former governor would always be present in court for the trial. The prosecution counsel said though they had filed the counter affidavits, they would not oppose the bail, going by the assurances of the learned SAN. Ruling on the bail application, Justice Winte granted the defendant 500 million naira bail with 2 sureties with landed properties within the jurisdiction of this court. They must swear to affidavits of means and the title deeds of properties be verified by the court's registrar. The defendant was also asked to submit his international passport, and he would remain at the Kuje Correctional Center pending the perfection of the bail conditions. The ex-governor was earlier remanded in a fresh 110 billion naira charge by EFCC pending his bail application. Meanwhile, the judge has fixed February 24, 2025 for hearing into the matter. Reacting to the bill, activist politician Omoyele Sowore described Nigeria as a paradise for thieves, where looters become heroes of the poor and enrich the elites. The appeal court in Abuja has set aside all orders barring the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Accountant General of the Federation from releasing funds to the Rivers State government. The three-member panel, presided by Justice Haman Barka, ruled that the subject matter was not within the jurisdiction of the court relating to the revenue of the state. The appellate court, while allowing the appeal of the Rivers State government, also set aside all the orders made by Justice Joyce Abdul Malik, stating that it was unconstitutional for her to make orders restricting Rivers State government to receive funds due to the state from its Consolidated Revenue Fund. The court ruled that the lower court overreached itself and didn't have the jurisdiction to entertain the matter. In October, Justice Abdul Malik of the Abuja Federal High Court held that the receipt and disbursement of monthly allocations since January this year by the Rivers State Governor, Sibilai Fubara, was a breach of the Constitution and an aberration that must not be allowed to continue. The judge held that the presentation of the 2024 budget by Fubara before a four-member Rivers House of Assembly was an affront to the constitutional provision. Justice Abdul Malik specifically said that the governor's action was a gross violation of the 1999 Constitution. The judge subsequently restrains the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Accountant General of the Federation, Zenith Bank, and Access Bank from further allowing Fubara to access money from the Consolidated Revenue and Federation account. Meanwhile, Rivers State Governor Sibilai Fubara has reiterated his administration's commitment to improving the social and economic welfare of the people. Governor Fubara gave the assurance at the inauguration of the 6.55 kilometers Okanel, Obogoro, Mbaraja, and Mboaba roads project in Obiakpo local government area. The roads cut across Okania community through Obogoro and connects Port Harcourt Ring Road project under construction. He expressed delight in keeping his campaign promises and assured the people that their request for the rehabilitation of the community secondary school and health care center will be looked at and addressed.
Our government is a government that takes the interests of our people very, very, very important. There is no government without the people. It is only the people that keeps the government. And so what we will continue to do is to make sure that the problems, the interests of our people are topmost in our list. So let me not bore you with the details of the technicality of the road. The commissioner has done those ones. The most important thing is the road was bad. Our government came, our government saw, our government also conquered the situation. Our government is a government.
Inaugurating the project, the Taraba State Governor, Dr. Abu Kefas, described Fubara as a quiet type who have shown resilience and commitment to the development of the state, while calling on residents of the state to give the governor the needed support to thrive. Also speaking, the State Commissioner for Works, Elokatasi Amadi, provided details of the projects commissioned. Meanwhile, Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State has pledged his administration's support for the success of the 2025 Hajj operations. Zulum made the commitments when management of the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, led by its chairman, Professor Abdullahi Saleh, paid him a visit on Friday in Maiduguri. The governor congratulated Usman on his appointment and reaffirmed state government's readiness to collaborate with stakeholders for seamless Hajj operations in the 2025 and beyond. Zulum, however, lauded their successes during 2024 Hajj, especially the airlift of pilgrims as scheduled and the provision of the decent accommodation in Saudi Arabia, among others. He urged the NACONs to address challenges related to VIPs accommodation in Mina and Arafah. The governor also spoke on the need for the Commission to establish a realistic benchmark for Hajj fares, noting that fluctuating exchange rates had impacted in the 2024 Hajj greatly. Responding, Usman assured the governor of the Commission's commitments to reforms that would guarantee a seamless 2025 Hajj. He said this committee has been set up to oversee airline selection, feeding, and accommodation arrangements for the pilgrims. Usman also announced that discussions was ongoing between the Commission and the service providers for the perfection of transactions in Naira as a way of reducing costs of Hajj fares. The Vice President Kashim Shettima has inaugurated the National Economic Council Ad Hoc Committee on National Electrification and NEC Ad Hoc Committee on Polio Eradication. Inaugurated at the Presidential Villa, Abuja on Thursday, He said there is no way Nigeria can dream of meaningful national economic development without addressing the power sector crisis and ensuring Nigerians have access to electricity and other affordable energy. He urged leaders in the country to rise above differences to confront the power sector crisis and become part of the reincarnation of Nigeria as an industrialized nation. Shatima referred to countries with similar challenges of energy insufficiency such as Indonesia, India, South Africa, and Uganda, pointing out that they are already in league of those at the forefront of post-industrial revolution. Regretting that an estimated 40 to 70% of Nigerians have no formal access to electricity, Shatima said he is comforted by the knowledge that the caliber and experiences of state governors and other members of the committee will change the narrative in a positive trajectory. The Vice President expressed hope that there will soon be significant improvements following the recent reforms in the energy sector, which have opened the sector not only to the participation of otherwise excluded players, but also to attract investments, both foreign and local. While inaugurating the NEC Ad Hoc Committee on Polio Eradication, Senator Shatima urged members of the committee and stakeholders to reinvigorate efforts to confront the reemergence of the disease head-on. The Vice President discouraged short-term measures in tackling polio, urging the committee members to come up with long-term measures, including the local production of polio vaccines. In his remarks, the chairman of the NEC Ad Hoc Committee on National Electrification and Cross River State Governor Prince Basi Edet Otu noted that Vice President has empaneled the committee with 4 terms of reference to change the ugly history of incessant national grid collapse in the country, noting that their next task is to get down to work and do so assiduously until they produce credible achievable and sustainable results. Members of the NEC Ad Hoc Committee on National Electrification include governors of Katsina, Gombe, Osun, Imo, and Plateau States, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Minister of Power, Special Advisor to the President on NEC Climate Change, Special Advisor to the President's Managing Director, SEO of Rural Electrification, Agency REA, CEO, Nigeria Governors Forum, Managing Director, SEO of Niger Delta Power Holding Company, FGN Power Company, and NEC Secretariat. Still to come, Israeli strike on Gaza post office kills 30 Palestinians. China, Egypt, with peace in the Middle East. Details in a moment.
We are local.
We are right now with the wife of the man that was...
Why the main market is in chaos. People...
We are national.
Those in support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.
This is Global News on Signature TV. Syrian civilians strolled through the remains of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad family summer resort on Friday. After a brutal 54-year rule and a 13-year civil war, Syrian rebels ousted Assad on Sunday in a generational change for the Middle East. Since then, many of the properties belonging to Assad or his family have been looted or destroyed by Syrians looking to erase his legacy. Syrian cyclist Basil Sufi rode his bike some 40 kilometers from the northwestern city of Latakia on Friday morning to visit the resort in Burj Islam, which boasts a white villa with balconies overlooking the Mediterranean, a private beach, several gardens, and a walking path. Windows were shattered and broken glass littered the floor. No furniture was left, while toilets, showers, lights, and other items were all broken or smashed. Following Assad's toppling, local residents, mostly Syrian Turkmen, driven out to nearby villages due to the construction of the resort, entered the area for the first time since the Assad family built it some 50 years ago.
I can't explain how this is. It's enjoyable. I think I feel freedom for the first time in my life. I can't believe my eyes. They built something we didn't see in all my life, our life. in Syria. You know, did you see the streets in Syria? All are bad. I don't like to give it to someone else, another president or something like that. It must be for the people.
The head of the chemical weapons watchdog said he would ask Syria's new leaders to grant investigators access to the country to continue work identifying the perpetrators of attacks that killed and injured thousands during the civil war. Addressing a special session of the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, Fernando Arias said his office had seen positive signals from Syria about the needs to rid the country of chemical weapons, but no formal requests had been received. The 41-member Executive Council of the OPCW was meeting in The Hague to discuss next steps after Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's sudden toppling. Speaking ahead of the meeting, U.S. Ambassador to the OPCW, Nicole Champagne, said Washington viewed Assad's fall as an extraordinary chance to rid Syria of chemical weapons. Arias said the evolving political landscape in Syria offered an opportunity for the organization to finally obtain clarification on the full extent and scope of the Syrian chemical weapons program after 11 years of inspections. Warning of the proliferation risk, he said victims deserve their perpetrators that we identified be brought to justice after their multiple use during the 13-year civil war. He will seek access for the OPCW's investigation and identification team. That units and the joint UN OPCW mechanism have already identified Syria's armed forces as having used chemical weapons 9 times between 2015 and 2017. The culprits of many attacks remain unidentified. Syria joined the OPCW in 2013 under the U.S.-Russia deal, and 1,300 metric tons of chemical weapons and procurement or precursors were destroyed by the international community. But after more than a decade of inspection, Syria still possesses banned munitions. Assad ruled Syria and its military ally, Russia, always denied using chemical weapons in the civil war. With Syria still in disorder, with myriad armed groups around the shattered country, the OPCW will be concerned to act quickly to prevent any chemical weapons being used.
Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized.
Obama drew that line, and Obama can draw a line for himself and for his country, not for other countries. We have our red lines, like our sovereignty and our independence. While if you want to talk the word red lines, United States used uranium-depleted uranium in Iraq. Israel used white phosphorus in Gaza, and nobody said anything. What about the red lines? We don't see red lines. It's political red lines.
A chemical attack that was so horrific in Syria against innocent people, including women, small children, and even beautiful little babies. Their deaths was an affront to humanity. These heinous actions by the Assad regime cannot be tolerated.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Friday that he discussed the imperative of Palestinian militant group Hamas saying yes to the Gaza ceasefire agreements in his talks with Turkey's president and foreign minister. Blinken, who said he discussed the imperative of the continued U.S.-Turkish efforts to keep Islamic State down in Syria.
We're very focused on Syria, very focused on the opportunity that now is before us and before the Syrian people to move from out from under the shackles of Bashar al-Assad to a different and better future for the Syrian people, one that the Syrian people decide for themselves. And we talked about how Turkey, how the United States, how other partners in the region can support those efforts. And I think there's broad agreement on what we would each like to see going forward, starting with the interim government in Syria, one that is inclusive and non-sectarian, one that protects the rights of minorities and women, one that preserves institutions of the state and delivers services to the people, one that deals with any chemical weapons it may find to secure them and appropriately destroy them, one that rejects any alliances with extremist groups, and of course one that does not pose any kind of threat to any of Syria's neighbors.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced on Friday that he plans to move forward to the next step in the case of Luigi Magnoin, with the suspect in the murder of United Healthcare CEO during a press conference with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Bragg stated that they will continue to press forward on parallel. Mayor Adams, backing Bragg's position, said that he will continue to advocate for Magnoin to be prosecuted in New York City.
Again, in partnership with the NYPD and under the phenomenal leadership of our new commissioner, we've been working hand in hand since the beginning. It has just been really, really great work by the NYPD, including also extending to law enforcement in Pennsylvania. I know the mayor mentioned quickly about extradition. I just wanted to say indications are that the defendant may waive, but that waiver is not complete until a court proceeding, which my understanding from court officials in Pennsylvania cannot happen until Tuesday. So until that time, we're going to continue to press forward.
We're committed to upholding the law and relentlessly going after those who break it, including the investigation of last week's brazen killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson here in Midtown Manhattan. And I know the DA is going to allude to that, but this morning I was briefed by the police commissioner. He has not waived his extradition yet. We're going to continue to move forward, but he should be, and I will continue to say, be prosecuted here in New York City.
At the court hearing in Pennsylvania on Tuesday, December 10th, his defense lawyer told the judge that Magnoin, 26, would oppose extradition to New York, where he is charged with murder and other crimes. That decision could delay the process by weeks, but it's unlikely to block his eventual transfer. For now, Magnoin will remain in jail in Pennsylvania, where he faces gun and forgery charges. His attorney, Dom Tiki, says that Magnoin plans to plead not guilty to the charges. Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Health's insurance arm, one of the largest health insurers in the U.S., was shot dead on the morning of December 4th outside a hotel in Manhattan in what police say was a targeted attack, sparking a manhunt that led to Magnoin's arrest. An Israeli strike on a post office shelter in Gaza has residents killed at least 30 Palestinians and wounded 50, medics say, and the Israeli military said on Friday it had been targeting a senior Islamic Jihad member. Families displaced by the 14-month-old conflict had sought refuge in the postal facility in the Nusrat camp, and the strike late on Thursday brought the day's death toll in the enclave to 66, the medics say. Israel had its targets was an Islamic Jihad leader of attacks on Israeli civilians and troops and accused the militant group of exploiting civilian infrastructure and population as a human shield for its activities. An Israeli military statement said it was reviewing reports on the number of casualties. It did not identify the Islamic Jihad member by name. Nusrat is one of Gaza Strip's 8 historic sites, originally from Palestinian refugees from the 1984-1948 war around the establishment of Israel. Today, it is part of the dense urban area crowded with displaced people from throughout the enclave. Kyiv residents had to take shelter once again in metro stations in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv in the early hours of Friday as Russia launched a major missile and drone attack on Ukraine. Russia launched 93 missiles and nearly 200 drones in one of its largest wartime attacks on Ukraine's energy system on Friday, President Volodymyr Zelensky says. Zelensky said Ukrainian air defenses managed to shoot down 81 Russian missiles, including 11 missiles that were down by F-16 fighter jets. Ukraine's largest private energy company, DTEK, said the Russian forces dealt serious damage to equipment at the thermal power plant during the morning attack on energy infrastructure. The morning missile strike was preceded by the overnight attack involving dozens of drones. Ukraine's energy system has already suffered 11 waves of attacks this year, which have caused widespread damage and lengthy power cuts all over the country. Ivan Kotler was on his way home from work recently, very late at night, when he saw something that looked like a full moon, except he knew it was about 2 weeks too late to see the natural phenomenon. He stopped his car at the crossing of the Hebron Road and Grove Street in Montclair, New Jersey, and looked at what he thought was something of the size of a school bus hovering 150 feet over a tree line.
About 12:40 at night, I'm coming home from work at the TV show I produce, On Patrol Live, and I'm driving into Montclair, and all of a sudden, right over the horizon, I see what looks like the full moon. Only it can't be the full moon because the full moon was 2 weeks ago. And all of a sudden the moon is starting to move to my left and it's heading towards me. And then all of a sudden I'm like, no, it's not the moon. Maybe it's a plane. And no, it doesn't look anything like a plane. It's way too big and it's way too low in the sky and it's the middle of the night. Then I think maybe it's a helicopter. No, it's not a helicopter. Then suddenly it gets closer and it's hovering right over the trees and it looks like, I guess, an enormous drone? I'm not even sure what I've never seen anything like it. It's just a drone on steroids.
Drone sightings in New Jersey started around November 18th. A couple of Sundays ago, I actually went outside and I saw 60 specific drones around my township, which is the township of Pequannock. And this is an issue, and I started reaching out to our elected officials and I wasn't getting any answers. Nobody knew anything. So when I say drones, normal people are thinking about a drone, about this big, the size of their hand, something that's smaller. The drones that I'm seeing are the smallest size. There's basically two different ones that I'm seeing. One is the size of roughly a suitcase, something about this big. Another one is the size of an SUV. This thing is huge and it sounds like a small jet. It is massive and it looks like a plane.
Since roughly the middle of November, residents of New Jersey have spotted large and medium-sized objects flying around their neighborhoods. Some were also spotted in Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Staten Island. The Pentagon said on Wednesday that there was no evidence that drones that had been spotted over New Jersey were from a foreign entity or adversary. The White House said on Thursday that they are investigating the issue. President Emmanuel Macron named centrist veteran Francois Bayrou as France's new prime minister on Friday, his office says in a statement. Bayrou replaces Michel Barnier, who resigned last week after a far-right and leftist lawmaker voted to topple the government, plunging France into its second major political crisis in 6 months. And elsewhere, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Friday said Beijing agreed with Egypt that both nations should promote peace and negotiations to achieve stability in the Middle East. Wang made the remarks during a meeting with his Egyptian counterpart Badr Abdelati in Beijing. He said both countries are deeply concerned about the current situation in Syria and called for respect for the nation's sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity. Wang also said both welcomed ceasefire agreements between Israel and Lebanon.
We agree that we should promote peace and dialogue and strive for peace and stability in the Middle East. The two sides are deeply concerned about the current situation in Syria and call for respect for the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Syria and for an inclusive political process to be launched as soon as possible, so as to prevent terrorist and extremist forces from taking advantage of the situation. The achievement of a ceasefire and an end to the war in Gaza is an important starting point for the return of peace to the situation in the region. The two-state solution is the fundamental way forward in resolving the Palestinian question. We must support them in strengthening their internal unity and achieving a comprehensive, just and lasting solution to the Palestinian question through political negotiations in accordance with the relevant United Nations resolutions.
Executive of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Joe Lee, who is on duty, visits to Beijing. During the meeting, Xing had a report from Lee on Hong Kong's current situation and the HKSA's government's work. Xing said the central government fully acknowledges the work of Chief Executive John Lee and the HKSA's government. Xi said the third plenary session of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China made systemic deployments for further deepening reform comprehensively to advance Chinese modernization and stressed leveraging the institutional advantages of the one country, two system policy, which brought new historical opportunities for Hong Kong's development. The central government will continue to faithfully and resolutely implement the one country, two systems policy and fully support the chief executive and the HKSAR government in uniting and leading various social sectors in Hong Kong to carry out reform and work hard with determination, actively align with national strategies, create new momentum, and build new strengths for economic development, promote Hong Kong's stability and thriving development, and contribute more to Hong Kong's prosperity and stability, he said. Police in India's financial capital Mumbai said on Friday that they were investigating a bomb threat to the Reserve Bank of India after it received an email in Russian warning of an explosive attack. The warning was sent to the official email address of newly appointed RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra, a senior Mumbai police officer said. Schools, railway stations, airports and airlines in India have been subject this year to hundreds of bomb threats that have turned out to be hoaxes. At least 40 schools in Delhi received the bomb threats by email on Monday, while airlines and airports in India got nearly 1,000 hoax threats until November this year, nearly 10 times more than in the whole of 2023. In sports, Real Madrid forward Kylian Mbappe is out of their La Liga visit to Rayo Vallecano, but defensive midfielder Eduardo Camavinga is ready to return to the squad after recovering from the hamstring injury, manager Carlo Ancelotti says on Friday. The 25-year-old France captain, who was replaced during the first half of Madrid's 3-2 win at the Atalanta in the Champions League on Tuesday, was diagnosed with an injury to his left thigh and will now miss Saturday's game against 12th place Rayo. France international Camavinga, 22, picked up his injury during their 2-0 loss to Liverpool in the Champions League at Anfield in November. Kylian Mbappe, who moved to the Santiago Bernabeu from French champions Paris Saint-Germain on free transfer in June, is Madrid's leading goalscorer in La Liga with 9 goals from 15 matches. Second place, Madrid have 36 points from 16 matches and trail leaders Barcelona, who have played a game more by 2 points. Having lost 2-1 at Athletic Bilbao in La Liga, Madrid bounced back with a 3-0 win at Girona, followed by a Champions League victory over Atalanta. And that's the news this hour. I'm Charles Pies. Thank you for watching. See you later.
very, very difficult. Person like me now, I have to trek all the way from where I'm coming from. Before I get cash, it's very difficult. I have to just trek. If you meet some of these POS people, they will even charge you more than what you're expecting. So, how much am I getting? How much am I going to pay for POS? Before you even pay transport, go to a bank. Very, very difficult to get cash nowadays. Government should set up a task force that go to all these banks. All these banks they are the one that hold this that hold money. The thing, they don't want to release the money. I think there's money inside banks, so the government should set up a task force so that they can go to all these banks. I think I just read VMont last week ago that they should report the bank, any bank that don't want to release bank. I think they should set a task force that can they can do something about it.
It has been affecting me mostly in most of the transactions I carry out on a daily basis. Now, most of those transactions I use cash for. I usually do transfer. And not only doing that transfer that is the matter, a lot of charges attached to it. And you getting the cash, the amount you pay to get like 5,000 before, you pay like 100 naira, but now it is more than that. I think one of the ways government needs to look at it is that when it comes to withdrawal limits, they should increase the withdrawal limit across the counter, because normally, if I stand to be corrected, maybe a weekly withdrawal limit for an individual is 100,000 across the counter in the bank. If they can increase it to 200,000 or more, it will be better to ease the problem of cash scarcity in this country.
Yeah, the scarcity of cash, to me, it doesn't affect me because I prefer going cashless. I don't go around with cash. I prefer going around with my ATM card, and I have my bank apps on my phone so I can easily make a transfer. Even if there is no network, I can still use my USSD code to make my transfer. So I prefer going around like that.
The thing has got really easy for everybody. And one of the reasons is because if you check, most of these bankers, they are the people that are having all these POS machines. So even if you go to the POS machine, you can't get cash. You have to come to these roadside guys that are doing POS before you get cash. And even them, they have not given them much cash so that they can gain more. Like if you want to get like 3K, 5K, you have to pay almost 400, 500 to get that kind of thing. So it's really, hard on people.
It's affecting me so seriously because if we go to bank now, we couldn't get the cash. We'll be there on queue, suffering, but we end up getting nothing. We don't know what is known to the government for the issue of this scarcity cash. But we are pleading with the government to look into the matter and solve this problem.
A very warm good morning to you this very beautiful Saturday morning, the 14th day of December 2024. Welcome to New Day, your special weekend show on Signature Television. And of course, I'm Chigi Chiagorom. And with me on this show is
Joshua Oretegu. Wonderful to have you with me this morning. Don't forget, you can be a part of this, our conversation that we're going to be having. But Chigi is so excited, so let me wait before. Chigi, how are you?
I'm good.
You look so excited.
Yeah, because you're sitting beside me.
I know, right? You missed me.
I will wait before we go down that rabbit hole. What comes to your mind when you hear the word New Day?
New day, new perspective, new opinion, new day, new ideas,
freshness,
you
newness.
get new.
No, I go to school. So I will pose the same question to you. What comes to your mind when the phrase New Day, hits you, right? So if you had the opportunity to do something that didn't work out, well, you have a new day, new perspective, new alliances, new friendships. So go out there, take the bull by the horns and do it again. You will succeed. All right, we are continuing right after this short break with our newspaper headlines and reviews. Do stay with us. And if you're just joining us, this is still a New Day on Signature Television. Welcome to our newspaper headlines. And first off, on today's national dailies, on Saturday Times, just below the mast, Tinubu, governors, other leaders grace Senator Barrow's children's wedding ceremony.
And above the mast, we have two interesting stories. Tasha says, Nicki Minaj is my mother. Amazing. Still above the mass, we have Bibi Naija Angel getting married soon. Wow.
All right, about Miss Nigeria 2024, the countdown begins for December 19.
And on 2027, we have PRP, ADC Major Looms seek alliance with dislodged APC.
And NAFDAC probes substandard amoxicillin. Finally, on the Sunday Times, truck kills 2 female students in Lokoja. Very sad note.
Moving over to the Saturday Tribune, just above the mast, two interesting story. Wige gives his best to whatever he does. Coming from Akpabio, and with the rider, FCT Minister Stones 57. Book on him launched in Port Harcourt. I beg your pardon.
Just behave yourself.
Oh yeah, yeah. So with the rider, FCT Minister turns 57. Book on him launched in Port Harcourt, and on page 6 we have Makinde involved our union in the appointment of over 19,000 teachers, and this is coming from the Oyo NUT chairman.
And just below the Saturday Tribune mass, Peter Obi to federal government. You can't ask Nigerians to fast and be feasting. The rider says corruption has killed hard work in Nigeria. This can be found on page 3 of the Saturday Tribune.
And Ifere Kakos visits Farotimi in prison.
Soldiers killed 181 terrorists in 1 week, coming from defense headquarters.
We didn't give 325 million naira to APC. This is coming from Tech Fund.
And finally, on the Saturday Tribune, federal government sets 3-year target to migrate NECO WAEC exams to CBT.
Moving over to the Weekend Trust, just below the mast, we have opposition in disarray with the rider "We are doing well," coming from parties insist rather.
Allow dam tragedy. Farmers, fishermen struggle to pick pieces on page 10.
Rivers can receive monthly allocation. This is coming from the appeal court. You can find this on page 36.
Lamido remains Council of Emirs chairman, coming from Adamawa Assembly. Tinubu, Abbas, Mamandaura, governors, others attend Barrow's children's wedding. These can be found on pages 9 and 25 respectively.
And finally, we have how elites remain wealthy through marriages.
Next up, The Nation Saturday, boldly written on the front page, Rivers crisis, Akpabio knocks Fubara, PDP, with riders that say Says governor can't run state by ostracizing speaker and lawmakers. Explains why president made ex-Rivers governor, Federal Capital Territory Minister Wike, I am not bothered by criticism. Tinubu's backing enough for me. Appeal court vacates order stopping allocations to state. Can be found on pages 4 and 29 of the Nation.
And above the mass, we have on page 5, EDU, federal government launches wheat subsidy to enhance food security.
Southeasterners shun Yuletide travels over insecurity and cost. Page 28.
Afe Babalola petitions LPDC, demands Farotimi's disbarment.
He doesn't want to stop, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Okay. Alleged 80 billion naira fraud. Court grants Bello 500 million naira bail on page 27.
Nigerian extradited to U.S. from Ghana over $6 million cyber fraud.
Wow. And finally, on the Nation, lecturer held for alleged kidnapped of ASU chairman's wife. Wow.
Moving over to the Blueprint Weekend, just below the mass. Don't downgrade syrup information. Ministers, federal government begs state government with the rider, says through them, citizens educated on policies, programs, initiatives. There's need for robust information management system coming from Governor Sani, and we must devise strategic communication strategies to counter our enemies' diverse and negative narrative.
Still on the Blueprint Weekend, why Tinubu made Wike minister coming from Akpabio with a rider that says in less than 2 years, you've turned Abuja into a huge construction site.
Domestic equity gains 374 billion naira as Aredel lifts market activities.
GMOs are food poison coming from experts.
Ladi Kwali, a blend of creativity and ingenuity.
And finally, on the Blueprint, FAC, federal government, state, local government share record 1.727 trillion naira November, and how tax reform bills will restructure Nigeria's economy.
And now The Guardian. Why mining sector can't be reliable despite MOU with France.
And just above the mast, Benue APC, a house falling apart over Akume Alia Rift. And Kukola, deepening climate change narrative through reclaimed beauty on pages 17 and 21 respectively.
From Ghana, lessons for Nigerian electoral umpire ahead 2027 polls.
Finally, on The Guardian Weekend, with Nigeria as Morocco, Saudi host World Cup.
And
all right, on Saturday, Vanguard, letter to Kemi Badenoch. No grief for anybody, page 23, with a rider that says why she disowns Nigeria, prefers Yoruba heritage on page 7.
Well, on CAF Award 2024, we have Hakimi challenges Lukman.
And boldly written on the front page of the Saturday Vanguard, 2027, North angry with Luke for alternatives. If Tinubu doesn't get it right, coming from Shetima, an AYCF president. This can be found on page 10. And of course, with a writer that says, those who stole trillions under Buhari are free today.
Why Peter Obi tried to step into Afe Babalola's case with Farotimi. You can find this on the page 15.
On Rivers, appeal court vacates order stopping allocations to state, and Pandef asks Wike to intervene in Rita Lori Ogbebo's FCT land case on page 7.
And on a very simple and common slogan, all men are liars and all men are cheats, we have Tiwa Savage, all men have cheated on me, lies hurt me more.
I feel for her though. Okay, moving on to Saturday Punch. 2027 presidency, PDP invites Jonathan as party's fate hangs on neck. On pages 4 with rider, 10 good luck Jonathans can't defeat Tinubu, says APC.
And on a very sad note, we have desperate Ondo man Bond's wife kills self over unresolved disputes.
Wow. Hope turns grief. Unhealed pains of mothers giving birth to dead babies.
And finally, because of time, how criminal hypnotizes before robbing, sexually molesting victims. And that's the much we can take on the newspaper headlines. We will dive now to the newspaper review. And in the studio to have this conversation with us is Chris Maduka. Chris, the Oracle. Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Josh. Good morning, Chigi. It's a new day. I'm happy to be here.
I think he uses "it's a new day" even on signature morning. So I think "new day" has something so much that even Chris cannot get over.
It's every day is a new day,
Yes.
and we give glory to God. And for you to take it as a title, it's ricocheting everywhere.
Yes.
And you can revibrate.
Okay.
Now, let's go.
Yes, let's go.
Let's go. The Saturday Times.
Of course, I know that's the story. That
the gathering of the senators.
And the president.
And Barrow's children's wedding.
Aye.
That's, by the way, the wherever the what they say, there's in Igbo proverbs, you know, he said, Ezuoka aheludere, atotu ongega mom. Now, when the elders gather, the ones that are used to eat vulture, when they gather to eat vulture, then they bring down the basket that is meant for the gods. So this is an example of it, and we wish them well, because this is not new. Whenever you see this kind of thing, they use it to gather for political alliances, horse trading, and all. So the Barawu's children wedding has provided opportunity where you find the Tinubu, our dear president, the governors, and all. And if you want to catch a glimpse of president and have a handshake and want to show that you are in good terms with him, you look out for the next wedding that he's going to attend. And that's wonderful. So congratulations to the children of the Barawus, and hoping that the gathering of the people at your wedding will bring us good tidings.
All right, very interesting one on the Nation Saturday. We're still on Afe Babalola and Dili Farotimi's case. It says Afe Babalola petitions LPDC and demands Ferotimi's disbarment. Do you think he's going too far, or he's on?
Once there's a proverb in Igbo land that said, "Ochu nwa ọkụkọ nwe ada, nwa ọkụkọ nwe mgbemgbe ọsọ." The man who is pursuing the chicken, especially when the chicken is innocent, will always find himself stumbling while the chicken will continue to trudge on the trudging. And that is it. When you have decided to shoot the plantain with a double barrel, and when you want to kill an ant with a mallet, we call for caution. There is no body that has put his hand on the backside that will not smell shit. And again, there is nowhere they decorate fight. Josh will pick up a fight with me and you start saying, no, there's a, hit me here, don't hit me here. And if you get involved with chicken, always playing with chickens, you always have the drops of chicken all over your body, or you smell the shit of chicken all over your body. And that's a word for a wise man, Afe Babalola.
Yeah.
He's taking this too far. And when it gets too far, there are certain things that has made him a very credible Nigerian. Some secrets that we open and start opening and start drawing attention, and he will not like it. He started well as a Nigerian, and you see so many things that have come out of this fight that has dented his image. There is somebody like Farotimi who said, "I'm dead already." And you, who is an octogenarian, who still want to live, is pursuing. And now, with all you put in place, you are pursuing this small young man.
And Chris, this is coming on the heels of an exposition by the U.S. There's a document available exposing Afe Babalola of bribing 5 appeal court judges.
That's what I'm
for the
saying.
sum of
Before now,
over $1 million.
before now,
Yes.
all those things wouldn't have come out. So why?
So I would think that a man of his pedigree should see, should look and understand the handwriting, the writing rather on the wall, and probably retreat.
Especially
But
if,
it seems
Peter Obi even still went to meet
the
him.
Tribune
and
said
he was a-
Afenifere caucus visit Farotimi.
Yes.
What does that tell you?
What they are telling us is that I don't know why instead of visiting Afeni Babalola, they're going to visit the man in prison. He's already down, and then whoever is in trouble will have to seek a way to defend himself, and whichever way he defends himself, and it can be dirty, and that's why they need to caution the elder man. He said, of course, why should the elder man even be fighting this fight?
At 95.
At 95.
What is he trying to do?
Well, I think for him is much more of his legacy.
Legacy. You are trying to defend the legacy, and you're putting up things that
So many
are,
things that
are destroying the legacy.
Of course.
And that's why I'm saying the fight is not worth it. But you don't know why God wants this fight to come out. Because some of our people who are respected people are living on borrowed credits. They are not what they think they are.
But what they do on one hand is
with all these expositions, let's just begin to look at it.
So on the outside, we see them as philanthropists, people who care about.
And now, when some of these fights start coming out, you now see they are not as angelous as they were claiming to be, and that's why. Well, God knows why every fight they come out.
I had a conversation about this yesterday, and the person was telling me that everything coming out about Afe Babalola has been there since. It just didn't come out to light. So what we saw was just like you said, the good work he was doing and everything. But all of these things,
something will always make something. That every criminal will always leave a trace somewhere, and someday somebody looks into those traces and then said, "Ha!" And my headmaster told me that the gentleman is the criminal who has not been caught.
Yeah.
So
and
the artful dodger. He used the word artful dodger. Those days when we were in private school, we were in love with those things. A gentleman is a thief who has not been caught. So until a criminal is caught, all the gentlemanness. And some people will say, that's so you be. So we never know. So that's why some fights are not necessary.
Yeah. So a book has been written apparently on Wiki as it turns 57 and to be launched in Port Harcourt.
Do you know there are people in life that are either they are older than their age, or things they do are bigger than their age, and I think our Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT fits into this. He is older than his age. He is a hard man that does great things more than his age. And that's what I live. But then what I would say is a caution. Because there's another where Abio says that the man put his best in everything he does.
I saw that.
And I said, if all these that we have read, heard, and see Wicked do are his best, and we appeal that he also at 57, as it is, that his age has been put to, he should find time that he is gotten to the level of being a senior statesman, that he is advised to be conscious of his dispositions of things and taste in general. We should be that now that you are this age, Honorable Minister of the FCT, my dear friend Nelson Wike, that I advise, despite my common man level, that you look at your dispositions and tastes for things in general and start thinking about yourself as a senior statesman. What does it take? In the next 3 years, you become 60. And at 60, you begin to round up and begin to reconcile. So if you hit too much, remember, the Godfather said, if you take too much out of life, you will pay too much to life. So this is an advice. For some of us who are, it's only this morning I know that he's even my junior. So as a junior, brother, I advise him to take things easy. And we have passed that route. And he's even doing more than us that are his senior. And that's why we caution. Because my father told me, from the house of a coward, they point to the house of a strong man. They call the children after. He said, you see that place, there is bush. There is a powerful man that used to live there. You don't know past his house. He will chop you alive. Now, that place is a bush. What does it tell you? Power. Kill. Struggle. And show that you a man is all vanity. Over time, the things will start coming back. You have to pay. The Bible that I read said, modest, balance. That's how life goes. You know, that portion makes me believe that even the God recognizes that we're humans. He only asks for balance. He didn't ask you to be too much angelic because you cannot maintain it. He also did not ask you to be too much devilish because it will go run against the principles of godliness. He said balance. And then if you are growing in Nigeria and you do not put balance, one day Nigeria will come for you because you must balance. And then, you know, when you enter bus, if it's Lagos, you know, you are used to that. Me, I don't get change, yo. Me, I don't get change, yo. If it's the south, it's the same, I don't get balance. Their balance is how much. You know, those things. Meaning that you still have something you want to give us.
Yes.
Or I owe you with balance. We must have a way. Nature hates vacuum. It must balance up itself.
Okay.
Thank you. That's about that.
So,
let's move on.
On something I know that you're very passionate about, this is on Saturday Tribune. Peter Obi to federal government, you can't ask Nigerians to fast and be feasting. And then he went further to say that corruption has killed hard work in
That
Nigeria.
is where I hook up, because the other ones are overtaken. I mean, it's, when you see facts, you do not use touch in the daylight to look at things. They're not a sea road, say make it bring light. When it is truth, it can be bitter, but it cuts deeper than sharp knife. I have said that several times here. In Nigeria of today, we cannot have a yacht of $5 billion lying in the ocean. Nobody is using it. Or meant for the acquaintances of the president to use while we are suffering. Or while I am suffering. And you want me to be patriotic, to work hard. You cannot be using Escalade 2024 model in a country that will say how much we are owing, and you ask me to tighten up and pay for fuel for 1,400 naira, and I'll be happy. Who are you going to beat and ask not to cry? It is an error. How can you be doing this? We find ourselves, our leaders, we go out, if President Tinubu is our president, if I find myself outside the country, I say, that's my president moving in a brand new jet. That's him riding in a brand new car. That means I am from a country that is rich. It's my father. He is rich. Why should my father be rich and I am poor? It's an error. And if my father is rich and I am poor, as his son, I'll complain. President Tinubu, I'm your son. I am one of your children in Nigeria. We are suffering. And why all your people are enjoying? It will be an error if you don't say it. Why should we die in silence? And by the way, how many times are we need to die? We talk, we die. We no talk. We are almost worse, we die. So it's better we talk and die. Now we are talking that we are hungry. We are still moving up there. If we are going to die, all well and be it. But it will be on record that we say that we are suffering. Our dear president, we are suffering. Do something about it. And let all the people working with you begin to also tighten their belt. It's not all the common people. How many percentage of people working with you? And they are living in affluence. 660 million naira SUV. With all the allowances, 21 million naira monthly. They have Federal House of Reps, 16 million naira monthly. And some people, we go to the same market to buy mugu of rice and yam and beans with that. And some people are earning, have not earned, some states can pay 70,000 naira yet. minimum wage. And we think we are in Nigeria, we say equality, equity, patriotism. You use those words overused, and then we better think twice because the man where they cry, they see road.
Chris, of course, this is why I said it's something you're passionate about, and that's why I just give it to you.
And everybody will be passionate about.
But okay, we still have a lot of headlines, but because of time, and I just want to.
We can meet
there's so much seriousness in the air. Tiwa Savage, all men have cheated on me. Lies hurt me more. I know you would say that there are more serious things to discuss, but I mean, she's a public figure.
Tiwa Savage, since you brought it up, if that will mellow down the tension. Tiwa Savage and his issues, by the way, I'm so sorry to him, if all the men she had met had lied to them, it means men are liars. So what it means is that once you begin to lay a real goat, you begin to learn how your goat cries. So if you know that all men in Nigeria are liars, it's either you decide to deal with them or you go.
So the question here is, has Tiwa Savage dated all men in Nigeria?
And that's why I'm coming, because she is talking from experience. She tried one.
Which could be dependent on her choices.
Yes, Which choices?
Depending on the kind,
let me tell you a story before we go.
kind of men she's attracted to. No, you can't come and give a blanket statement.
This whole blanket thing that all men have met our lives.
I'm a scientist. I have to know the population from which you chose your cohort to say all men. I have to understand the sampling. You just dated 2, 3, 4, at most 5 men, and all men are suddenly liars. Oh, please.
No, but by the way, like you said, what class of men?
Oh, well,
she said you always those
people who are in her class.
All the men that are
actually she said all my men.
The Igbo say, the business you are into is what you are used to. So you cannot be a Christian and go to a nightclub to select a wife or husband. You go to fellowships and where they're clapping, and you are looking, selecting and that. If you go to a nightclub, you see the girl who dances best, So if you are choosing your husbands and your men from the area of life you live, I don't know if you are choose from Chigi's church, there wouldn't have been a liar. But that's, by the way, what am I trying to say? It doesn't call for anything. Still try more.
I would even tell her, because she's saying all my men. Yes. If this has become a mindset
come and try Josh. Josh is a very gentleman.
Yes, I am.
He's not a liar.
I am.
And
Josh, don't come crying to me.
No, I won't. No,
please don't come crying.
Don't worry.
Why cry? Why now? No, we need it. Because if Josh tried that area, we support and give.
You are coming from a woman to a woman. Try again.
Yes.
If as persons that you don't succeed, just try again.
Try again. Very good men out there.
There are very, very good men out there. That wouldn't want you.
That's a good way to dance the tension of Nigeria. Tiwa Savage has tried all men and all liars. So try women.
No, she didn't try.
That's LGBT.
This is what she said. She said, all my men.
All her men, people she has dated.
Not saying all men.
Yes.
All the men you have dated, meaning you have dated men.
She
has dated the men.
Maybe she should try boys.
And that's the funny, for her to have dated men,
women.
It means also she has to do self-reflection. All 90 million flies cannot be liars. So join them.
Maybe one day
we'll just
for
them,
call you.
What they see in those things they eat.
We'll just call you one day, just to give adage. Just give us Igbo deep adage.
That you cannot stop the men world, the way world created men from going. You say, stop them. I want to jump out because you are Tiwa Savage. That God should create a special man because men are men. In America, I'm just advising like.
Well, thank you, Chris. This is the much we can take on the news
headlines
and review. Of course, your input has been very, 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 very good and intentional. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
When we come back, of course, you can find this interview on our YouTube channel and Facebook. You can find stipends on other social media platforms. So please do well to like, comment, and subscribe. When we come back, we have another conversation lined up for you. You do not want to miss. This is going to be an interesting one. See you after this.
Welcome back and thank you for joining us. This is still New Day on Signature Television, and welcome to our Saturday retrospect, where we give you or bring to you highlights of conversations we had during the week. And first up, on Monday, we had a discussion on Syrian rebels as they capture capital. And we had Raymond Ken Mbata come into the studio to have a discussion on this subject matter. Do take a listen.
First of all, I want to congratulate the Syrian people for having a breakthrough through their decades-long civil war. It has been a very ravaging time for the Syrian population. I want to commiserate with those who have lost their loved ones and say that this is the beginning for a new dawn for Syria, if well managed. The rebel forces started taking over from the 27th of November and started inching towards Homs, inching towards Aleppo, and also towards the capital, Damascus. And they say that it was in retaliation for government forces invading and attacking them with airstrikes assisted by Russia. And so the counterattack has provided a leeway for the rebel forces to take complete control over Homs, over Hama, and over the capital, Damascus, also with less casualties on their side. It's a big victory, and it's a signal for a new dawn for the Syrian population. There has been celebrations all around in Syria, in Turkey, also in Lebanon, and in some other Middle Eastern countries. They have been celebrating the fall of the Assad regime in Syria as of now.
Right. We understand this started in 2011. This is over a decade ago, and that was during the Arab Spring. Russia at that time and other countries helped Assad to win. Why do you think Russia was unable to help Assad at least stay longer, with what's going on in the Middle East?
Russia has their hand full already with the conflict in Ukraine, which is a byproduct of also the ongoing Cold War. For me, I think the Cold War did not end. The Cold War was only stored in the freezer for further conflicts to arouse out of it. Russia is still competing with the United States to be the policeman of the world. And also that also showed its hand in the conflict in Ukraine. There was no real reason for Russia to attack Ukraine, apart from the fact that Ukraine might be a member of the NATO formation, and that will be a threat to Russia. And so Russia has the hands full in trying to contain the Ukrainian situation and would not have been able to give as much as arms and personnel support to Arab countries to counter the effect of Israeli, United States, Western Europe coalition in the Middle Eastern region. So I think Russia has its hands full. Russia can only appeal to China or even North Korea to assist the Arabian Peninsula in a vice that has been, they have been enclosed in a vice fought by proxy by the likes of Iran using Hezbollah in the territories of Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon to fight against the independence and the status of the State of Israel. So I think that first of all, it's going to signify that it's a drop in the manpower and the capabilities of Russia to be able to assist its allies in the Middle East era. And I think it will be an ascendancy of the American, Middle East, America, Western Europe alliance with Israel will supersede.
Right. If you see the speed at which this takeover happened, I mean, it just started in November 27th. Today is 7th of December. I mean, between November 27th and 7th of December, today is 9th. I mean, you think that these guys must have for some foreign backing. Do you think that some way Israel or the United States, were the ones supporting these rebels to topple Assad?
Definitely, the Israeli Prime Minister has made a press briefing and attributing the fall of the Assad regime to the assistance gotten from the Israeli Defense Forces with the support of the Syrian people. There was also non-communication of these actions, series of actions, to Western Europe and also to United States of America, seemingly being taken unawares per se. I know they cannot be really taken unawares, but for official purposes, they were not informed of this counterattack that brought about the victory and the exile of al-Assad to Moscow as at present. Moscow has confirmed that al-Assad is in Moscow right now.
And on Tuesday, we had another interesting conversation, reshuffling of Southeast Development Commission Board. And we have Elder Ngozika Ihoma to have this conversation with us. To take a listen.
I happen to have been part of the Orosoya panel. I was a consultant to that Orosoya panel that looked at trying to abridge the workforce in the civil service. And what we have seen is a proliferation again, trying to increase the number of bureaucrats as against rendering services. Over time, we have ignored the Constitution, which is the ground norm. And I tried to educate Nigerians in the last 25 years of our Fourth Republic. It is abuse of this document that is the major challenge we have. I tried to look at the National Assembly trying to put up the 6 regional commissions. First of all, what came to my mind was how is it going to be funded? Because before this commission came up, I had already in April 2024 related to Revenue Mobilization and Efficiency Commission, which is the document here, pointing out there's an infraction we found out here. You have funding for the Northeast Development Commission for the month of December, shared in January, from the Federation account. There were about 14,184,165,795. I'm sure most of these things must have triggered some other people who got this document, but it was given to the states and some other agencies. First of all, this commission, Northeast Development Commission, is not a tier of government. The Constitution has said that only 3 tiers of government will receive allocation from the Federation account. The federal government, the state government, and local governments. The additional is a 13% derivation for the oil producing community. So how did Northeast Commission get funding from Federation account? So when they passed the Southeast, they quickly said that they are going to take 5% of the state allocation to fund the regional bodies. And the Senate President sarcastically made a comment that if they don't like it, they should meet them in court. Again, this is part of the aberrations we're talking about. As a lawyer, you want to infringe on the Constitution, the ground norm. You want to go against the Supreme Court judgment of 2002 on resource control, and you're asking the state to go to court. For what? When the National Assembly passes its own laws, does it include tampering with consolidated revenue fund of the state? The answer is no. So whatever belongs to the state should be allowed to handle it. The same way the states refuse to allow the local governments to have their way. I've been a little comfortable with that development because for now, the governors who thought that they're untouchable At least they will contest this in the court. I know that the court will avoid it. But at least let them feel the heat of what they have done to local governments. It is the absence, majorly, of local government system that has led to this proliferation of commissions. You ask a question whether the NDDC, which the Southeast, few of the Southeast, Imo, Abi, and part of Anambra now by benefit from the commission. How have they fared? The issue is that they didn't fare any better because we did not allow things to work the way they should. Okay? If the 3 tiers of government, the federal has the exclusive list, the states share the concurrent list with the federal, the local government have the 4th tier, 4th schedule of the Constitution as their own responsibility. If all of them, funded from the Constitution, are allowed to perform their role. Most of the people who were announced this morning as members of the board of the Southeast Development Commission are all qualified to be councillors.
And that was Elder Ngozika Ihoma with his take on reshuffling the Southeast Development Commission Board. You can find out on YouTube and Facebook at Signature Television Official. Moving over to Wednesday, Larry Ogwego spoke on checkpoints, the bridge between security and extortion. Do hear what he had to say.
Truth is, when I travel through certain places, I'm relieved when I see a checkpoint because of insecurity. That's the truth. I'm a peculiar breed of Nigeria, so I don't worry about extortion and harassment. So I'm relieved because I'm like, okay, I mean, if we have these checkpoints here, then it's likely that I won't have kidnappers or bandits next door. And that's an assumption that may not always hold, but at least I prefer that assumption.
It's on the
but
safer
then,
side.
for the ordinary Nigerian, when they see a checkpoint, there is this palpitation, there's this fear that you don't know what's next. The objective of a checkpoint is to provide security, to make you feel secure, feel safe. Unfortunately, the same checkpoints also make people feel insecure for different reasons. And like I've always said, there are some people who may never meet armed robbers or bandits in an entire lifetime. Of course, we're very spiritual people, so we pray about it. And some people believe, I know, God forbid, I won't ever meet an armed robber. I won't ever meet a kidnapper. And a lot of people don't. However, it's impossible not to meet policemen at checkpoints. So why I said it's a necessary evil is because it's necessary to have security presence. And truth be told, they have also been able to keep certain bad patches of our roads safe. But on the other hand, they have also become such a nuisance that a journey to Oka that would ordinarily take about 40 minutes now takes an average of 2 hours. I've been in a position on 2 occasions where I had to intervene to go to the soldiers at a military checkpoint to talk to them. On one occasion, there was absolutely no reason why they shut the checkpoint down. As in, nobody was passing, there was no traffic jam. I couldn't fathom what was happening. And when I was approaching them, people were telling me, no, God, don't go there or this. You know, I just went to them, asked them, so who is the boss here? And when I spoke with the man, I realized there was no particular reason. It appears that particular checkpoint has a penchant for punishing people. It's in front of a market. I've had very unpleasant experiences there. Sometimes you stay there for up to 40 minutes for no reason. So people have bad experiences. You see people being punished, forced to clean their camp, being brutalized sometimes, flogged and all that. And for me, insecurity is not only when a person is shot at with a machine gun. Insecurity also means being beaten up, being harassed, being made to feel insecure, if you want to take it literally. So I say it's a necessary evil because it's important, but at the same time, it's not doing the job for which they were set up. And that is unfortunate. Even if you look beyond the security side and the human rights abuses, you notice that they are so indifferent to how we feel. I don't know if you've noticed that sometimes you see a policeman chatting with a driver for up to 5 minutes, and vehicles will just wait patiently and be watching them. On one occasion, I had to flash my light and honked on, and the man asked me, who is doing that? I said, I am. And it became an issue. But you can't be exchanging pleasantries while cars are piling up and we're waiting for you, or you are begging someone for money. So we have a situation where we need the checkpoints to at least keep the roads reasonably safe. But we also don't want a situation where we solve one problem and create another.
Okay, now, I've traveled, and traveling through the north, you hardly find checkpoints. And if you find them, they're at strategic locations, and then they do what they need to do, and then they let you pass. But coming down to the southeast, you tend to find a lot of checkpoints. Of course, you understand about is the issue of kidnapping and all of that. But then, how do you think this gives an outlook to the southeast? That you have to come to the southeast, there's a lot of checkpoints. Especially if you're traveling from Benue inside Enugu, there is a whole lot of checkpoints there, and they take you a lot of time. Just like you said, a journey of 40 minutes becomes 2 hours when we're not the children of Israelite anymore. So what do you think, or how do you think this reflects on the southeast?
The first thing I want to point out is that I don't think we have these checkpoints in the southeast primarily because there's kidnapping and insecurity. I personally think we have more insecurity in the north than in the southeast. That's my perspective. I may be wrong, yes. But if you look at the news, if you look at the number of incidents of banditry and all of that, you would expect them to have more checkpoints than we do.
Don't forget you can find all of these interviews on our YouTube channel, Signature TV. On Thursday, we had talent hunt conception and execution, and we had Ozo Joe Mamel to have this conversation. Do take a listen.
I can say that the all important provided is on the positive form. There are a lot of energies in the youth, so it depends on how you direct it. If you allow them, it can become a negative energy. But if it is well propelled and focused, it can become a very good positive energy. And that is the one that impacts on the society. You see, the best you can do to somebody is to help the person have confidence in what he does. We have a lot of hidden talents in a lot of this, our teaming youths, but the problem is the issue of giving them a platform, to exhibit those hidden talents. Some of them lack the resources, some of them lack the platforms for encouragement, so they die with their dreams and they are not too happy about it. So part of what I discovered, again, is creating proper values for our youth. Because if we have a way to create good values, it impacts again on the society, and that is brushing up their spiritualities. One of the things I found out, when I was the Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, that was the onset of the African magic. And if you remember, there was not a good parental guidance on the social network on media. So people were just watching that television. And some of the things that that was known about the African movie world is the juju and things about it, and the oracles, how you can get rich by doing one or two things and things like that. But we were enjoying it as a movie, but it was impacting on our youths. They found it as a way of progress and prosperity. So now those young ones, maybe they were at a tender age, now grew up, and there was nothing to counter that value, that this is not exactly what it should be. There are better ways to prosper, outside this fetish and all those ones. But unfortunately, there was nothing to create a counter impact on the society. And some of them now grew up going back to the things that have already been forgotten. If you go to most of the villages, you find out that all those fetish oracles are now coming back because the youth of these days have seen it as a source of prosperity. That is what they saw yesterday, and this is influencing them for today. Now, that is part of my own inspiration, in creating Voices in Praise. It's my own way of giving back because when I was the commissioner here, like what I have told you about the movie industry, that is the same way the government then created hunts for young talents. We created people like, during the time I did the roadblock 1, 2, and 3 in ENUGU State. It was one of the biggest music shows that has ever happened. It's a big concert. So we gave opportunities. So people then we took as our C artists are now top A artists. And how did they get to A? Because platforms were created for them to showcase. So that was the essence of the whole thing. We don't charge money, we don't do anything. If you think you have it, come on stage. So for those ones that were C, we got them to B. From B, they went to A. People like Ron Town, Pato Rankin, you know them, they all started with C artists. But this is where they are today. But today, how about those young ones who have gone to the other side of gospel Christian music? There are some people call them a good choir. And they are just consumed within that word, choir. Who are the people in that choir? Nobody wants to know. Oh, the choir is beautiful. Clap for them. And they go home. So they are not accomplished. This is not what exactly they have in mind in progressing their own music life. So as we have created an opportunity for those ones in the secular and the contemporary music world, I feel that opportunity should equally be given to those who are in the Christian music world to develop. And all they want is appreciation, encouragement, and the promotional platform that they can use equally to blow. Music is music everywhere. And we find out, of course, some of those ones in other music, they just sing things which I will not say is amoral, but it doesn't really grow our moral values in the society. Some of them should even be checked in terms of the language they use in their music. But those other ones, when they start singing, somewhere like messaging with them and things like that, we all join. We love it because it inspires us.
And finally, on Friday, we talked about the media teaching mentorship. And Professor Sonny Udenze was available to give us his perspective to this subject matter. Please take a listen.
It's a business that we love doing.
All right. I mean, in those places you have taught people, mentored them. Are they enthusiastic about media in Nigeria?
Yes. To start with, most people who found themselves in the field of mass communication, I would say they did not come there by accident. They were conscious. They were enthusiastic. They were actually propelled to go into mass communication because of what they believe that mass communication has done and is doing in the lives of people and in the society. So it's not like somebody who came into a profession by accident or a program by accident, no. So because of the fact that they consciously decided to read mass comm, they are normally very enthusiastic.
Interesting. Professor Ndolo has been around for a while. I'm sure that you also have followed his development. You are friends with him. Can you give us some of the things that you would say that he did that was quite remarkable throughout his life, someone who's playing in that field?
Yes, like you said, he has been around for quite a long time, and also he has worked actively, like I just mentioned, going from one place to the other. You see, one thing that Professor Ndolo has done, which I thank God for, that he came back from US, because when he was in US at Howard, it was Professor Julius Horner that met him at Howard, where he was moving around recruiting staff for ISUT, or what they used to call ASUTEC. He met Ndolo and brought Ndolo back. I think that was in the 1986 or thereabout. And from the time that Ndolo came back to when he retired, he did so many remarkable things. alongside him, myself, we started the PhD program in ESUT. We helped to finish the people that were almost abandoned for more than 13 years doing PhD program at the Ebonyi State University. There are so many of them. And then we started alongside Professor Muneli Keto Menoga, who is currently the Vice Chancellor of University, Bariam, and Professor Chinyere Stella Okuna, the PhD program at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Okra. In fact, I was the internal reader for the first PhD graduate of that program. So over the years, he has been able, alongside some of us also, to create a new level of awareness in the field of mass communication. Because outside what they did, some of the people you hear that are professors now at Nnamdi Azikiwe University, at Ebonyi State University, in ESUT, and in Mariam, we are taught by us, you know. So I think he has done a very remarkable thing. I don't think that staying back in US, he would have impacted on Nigerians and Nigerian society the way he did when he came back with Professor Julius Honor. You know, so he has done marvelously well. And not just in the academia, a whole lot of people that he taught are also pushing, working marvelously well, doing very great jobs in the media. So many of them, you know, all these radio, television stations, that doing marvelously well.
I mean, you cannot buy that kind of experience. I mean, given the kind of person he is and where he has come from and the level he has achieved. What kinds of things should we be expecting from somebody like that, you know, so as to inspire the younger generation who are looking to be like him or even surpass what he achieved?
Yes, like you rightly said, the great thing about Professor Ndolo is that, like I've always said, he is not just a teacher, he's a mentor. There is a difference between a teacher and a mentor. The mentor follows your every move with passion, to know how you're moving, to know what you're doing, try to track you. We keep tab of our former students, what they're doing. In fact, sometimes when I go to accreditation, I was at Abraka some time ago for UNUC resource verification. I saw this person, saw that person, and they said they were their staff. I told the VC, see, we know all our former students. We know what they are doing.
And those were some of the conversations we had in the course of the week from Monday through to Friday. Don't forget to go over to our social media platforms, go like, comment, share. We would like to hear from you. Don't go anywhere. We're going on a short break, and when we come back, we'll have a very important discussion on cash scarcity in our banks, the apprehension, the cause, and the way forward. Please stay with us.
A lot of vehicle owners have withdrawn their vehicles on the road for lack of fuel, you know, or rather lack of purchasing power to fuel their vehicles. So it's a very, very tough period. A lot of people are agonizing over it, and except government does something and does something urgently, the situation might get out of hand. And don't forget the fact that this is just the tip of the iceberg, because for me, I feel that this is September and December is fast approaching. We may get to that situation at that point where a liter of fuel will cost 2,000. Already it is 1,400. By December, we'll be talking about 2,000 naira. It's an industry that is infested with corruption, and that's why we have the situation we have on the ground. That's why we are facing this problem. And you ask yourself, you know, this is a product that is excavated from Nigeria. In the wisdom of our past leaders, beginning from the military government, you know, they had the wisdom of constructing refineries, first in Port Harcourt in 1965. You know, we have the Port Harcourt refinery. We have a second refinery in Port Harcourt. Then we have Warri refinery. We have Kaduna refinery. And today we have Dangote refinery, which is about 650,000 barrels of oil per day. And we have other modular refineries. There is one in Edo. There is one, I mean, we have, on the whole, we have about 8 refineries in Nigeria. And you ask yourself, why are these refineries not functional?
Of cash, even in our Nigerian banks. You would recall that in the recent past, it first surfaced in 2023 during the Naira redesign. Well, it still persists. And to make sense of all this development is someone in the studio. Is Mr. Ibeto Francis Chinonso. He is the Chairman, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, AMBAN. Good morning, Mr. Ibeto Chinonso. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Absolutely. Great. Before we went on air, I was actually surprised. I didn't know mobile bankers, aka POS operators, had an association. So it was some sort of a pleasant surprise that you have an association. So before we go into the question, or rather, let me just ask you directly. You recall that MFLA was the first who started with the cash redesign. That was the first time most Nigerians experienced cash crunch. We're going to get back to your association in due course.
Okay, no problem.
Can you tell us why there is cash scarcity at this time in December, and who is responsible for this cash scarcity?
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful question. Let me start by saying Nigerians are passing through a lot now because of this cash scarcity. Then there are some factors that contributed to it, and we cannot outline those factors without going back to history, because history is a great teacher. Last year, February, when the issue of cash redesign came up, we all know what happened that period. A lot of hardship occurred during that period, and a lot of Nigerians were unable to access their money. And despite the fact that CBN also came up with policy to help to alleviate the shortage of cash that time. So since that very moment till now, an average Nigerian person doesn't trust depositing his or her money in the bank. They are afraid. So that is the reason why you can hardly get cash inside the banking hall now. Most of them prefer keeping the money in their shop or in their houses. So that's the reason why when you compare the amount of naira in circulation as of February last year, which is around 1 trillion naira, then currently now we have about 4.5 trillion naira in circulation. But it is not within the banking system. So the money is circulating outside the banking system because of that lack of trust. Nobody will want to experience what they experienced last year. So that is one of the factors.
All right, please, I have a follow-up question because something just occurred to me while you were talking about one of the reasons why there's cash scarcity as lack of trust in the banking system. So a lot of the monies are outside of the radar of the banking system.
Yes.
Now, would you say that proliferation of POS operators actually contributed to this? Because most POS operators will tell you that they are going for fund search, or they're going to get funds. And at deeper, research into what you find out that they go to filling stations, fuel stations, restaurants, people who make money, retailers, on a daily basis, and that's how they mop up funds.
Yeah.
And with that, you find out that the cash can't flow back to the banks. This is my non-economist's, analysis of what's happening. So tell us, there's proliferation of POS operators. You can't even deny that.
Yes.
Has it contributed to cash scarcity? And tell us how.
No.
Why would you think it has not contributed?
Before I will answer your question, if there is any individuals or group of individuals that are more patriotic in Nigeria, they are POS operators.
How so?
If we can flash our mind backward during the COVID period and this cashless policy, the only people that saved a lot of Nigerians are POS operators. So the reason why some of these filling stations, supermarket, now find it very difficult to deposit their money in the bank is because those people have developed a kind of strong relationship with POS operators. And they know that if they give this money to POS operators, they can easily get it back from them.
So, inadvertently, POS operators have actually contributed to scarcity of cash.
Not really.
Because they are preventing the cash from getting into the banking system.
Not really.
Okay, explain.
Not really. So the reason why I say so is this. Most of these filling stations, supermarkets, and other business owners went through hell last year during the cashless policy. So they prefer giving the money to people that they trust they can easily get it back from. So, but that is not, the issue is this, the Central Bank of Nigeria needs to do something. The open market operation
Before we get to the Central Bank, they are the bankers' bank. We're going to get to them. We just want to start from the grassroots.
Okay.
You said any operation that takes money or keeps money from getting to the banks creates some kind of artificial scarcity.
Yes.
Now, POS operators and retailers and wholesalers, they have an understanding. So wholesalers, retailers will rather have their monies in the hands of the POS operators rather than in the bank because they can easily access it.
Yes.
Doesn't that cause cash scarcity? That is my question. Doesn't that still keep money from the banks?
The bulk amount of cash does not circulate within the POS space.
Explain that.
Huh?
Explain that.
I cannot be able to go into details, but I can tell you that the sizable amount of money does not circulate within the POS space.
Tell us, where does it circulate?
I cannot be able to answer that question.
Okay.
For now.
Okay. Well,
but keep that thought. We are going to get back to that.
No problem. Thank you.
Let's move on. So on the headlines a couple of days ago, it says that CBN favors high-end customers. What do you have to say about this?
Can you repeat your question again?
On a few days ago, the newspaper headline, it says CBN favors high-end customers, meaning that if I have of course, I don't want to put it in words where you get it. So do you think that this is true? That they tend to favor people who have more cash in their accounts than the common Nigerian?
I cannot really answer that question. So I cannot comment on it. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. No problem.
All right. Okay, so we are still on the issue of the reasons why cash is not circulating enough and the reasons why cash is being kept from the banks. We have established lack of trust.
Yeah.
You have refused to, agree to the fact that POS operators probably have a hand in it. But thirdly,
I forgot to mention something.
Yes,
one of the
please.
factors.
Yes.
When you go to the bank, because the whole menace is really affecting our businesses. Like for example, this very morning, I'm not even sure of the cash that my workers are going to use to work today. When you go to the bank, the maximum amount of money you can withdraw from the bank is 20,000 naira if you are lucky.
Yeah, but I was about to say 10.
But most banks will pay you 10,000. Then if you have a decent conversation with bankers, they will tell you that there is a limit to the volume of liquidity that the bank is releasing to, CBN is releasing to the commercial bank.
That is why we are trying to tackle why that is.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the bureau, the chain. Those who
Money
in
changers.
the black market, those who change
money.
What are their roles in this? Because you mentioned that the bulk of the money does not lie in the POS ecosystem, it lies somewhere else. So I'm trying to help out here. What is their role in this scarcity of funds? Because it's obvious their money does not, I stand to be corrected though, but they keep a lot of cash. Most of their cash does not go through the banking system. How do they play a role in this scarcity?
In one way or the other, their operations is contributing to issue of cash scarcity.
How exactly?
By keeping money, like you rightly said, maybe in their offices or at their home. You know, the money is supposed to be circulating within the banking system. So whenever you are holding money, in one way or the other, you are contributing to cash scarcity. But the major issue is this: there is high increment in crime in Nigeria. And you know, most of the times, those criminals, their money doesn't pass through the banking system. So all these things are factors, when you put them together, they are also contributing to this scarcity of money that we are experiencing right now in Nigeria. But like I said, you know, on a normal, people will start accusing POS operators that we are the one holding the cash. An average POS operator doesn't even have up to 200,000 naira capital to run his or her business. How can they be able to hold 4.5 trillion naira? It's not possible.
But you know, it's not just one. We have quite a number of POS operators.
Yes.
In fact, in a street, you can get to see about 5 at the least. You know, so you don't think that could be a contributing factor as well?
In Nigeria, at an average now, based on statistics, we have about 1.5 million POS operators. Yes. So it's above 1.5.
Okay.
But sincerely speaking, they are not responsible for this shortage.
So
because we know, just imagine in a situation whereby 1.5 million POS operators, it's not everybody that is working on a daily basis, went to the bank and they collected 10,000 naira.
Okay, so there's this annoying trend. It's annoying to me. And I'll tell you, you will go to the banks, of course, you mentioned 10,000 at most. And then you go to the automated teller machine, the ATMs, and there's no cash. Yet, cash is available to POS operators. I mean, how do you explain it? Do you think there's a deliberate attempt, you know, to move, you know, transactions from the banks to the POS? It has become a trend. POS will have money, ATMs will be, which was why CBN actually put out an information that
says all banks must
release money, that if they don't have money, you should report to the CBN. Do you think that the deliberate attempts by some people who are probably owners of those POS or operation, you know, trying to move transactions from the bank to the POS?
Let me clear one notion, because there has been a lot of allegations that majority of POS operators are bankers. That is not true.
Really?
I'm telling you.
But I know of bankers that have their own POS.
Few of them. They are not even up to 5%. Majority of the people, I am the chairman of Amban Anambra State chapter, so I know my members. Majority of them are youths that are unemployed. Even some of them doesn't even have up to 100,000 naira capital to start up this business after paying money for their POS. So I need to correct that impression. That is number one. Then number two, because of the challenges POS operators faces that last year during that cashless policy, you know, every human being must be innovative. We came up with the idea of because we are very close to most business owners. They know us, we know them. So we came up with the idea of meeting these people. In fact, sometimes, you may not know this, those business owners sometimes normally release those money to us to do business. Then at the end of the day, we will credit their account. That is to show the kind of bond between most business owners and POS operators. Because if not for that strategy, Nigerians will not be seeing POS operators on the street again.
Okay, so now let me ask. Of course, you are part of the receiving end of this whole policies of cashless policy and everything. What do you think the CBN can do from your own point of view that can,
CBN needs to review their open market operations, as in the system whereby they exchange liquidity in terms of currency with the banks, because the current approach is not really working. So, and they also need to work in association with our association, which is an Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents, because we are very, very close to the grassroots. Most of the times, CBN normally release money to commercial bank. So they need to find a way to bring us in the equation. And our association is very, very ready to work with CBN.
This relationship, this partnership, would it end cash scarcity in Nigeria going forward? Do you think it has the potential of ending scarcity?
Yes.
But
all right,
let's talk about the facts of the charges that comes out from the POS.
Can I ask this question?
Please, by all means, go.
The charges. Now, buying of Naira is against the law according to the CBN Act.
You are right.
But during festive seasons, or of course we're in Yuletide season, if you want fresh mint money,
clean money
for Owambe and parties, you're paying more from to the POS operators, because there was even one I saw, the money was displayed in a show box.
Come on, buy. It's not.
Yeah, mint, clean cash, crisp notes. What do you have to say? What is your association doing? Because this is obviously a breach of the law.
Let me start by saying that it's not every POS operator is a member of AMBAN. All members of AMBAN undergo basic training, and we understand the fact that selling of Naira is illegal. So, wherever you see such kind of display, just note that whoever that is involved is not a member of AMBAN.
And what can a civilian do, knowing that that's illegal? Who can they report to so that the persons involved can be reprimanded?
Thank you so much for that question. On a state level, we have a AMBAN leadership in every state in Nigeria. The same thing at the local government level. So, and in order to fight this particular criminal activities that is happening within the sector, this coming Wednesday, we are meeting with the Central Bank of Nigeria, Bankers Committee, Money Point, OPE, all the stakeholders within the financial sector. We are launching what we call Agent Task Force, because there is a lot of criminal activities going on within the space. So as an association, we are working very hard to redeem our image, because I know majority of the people that are committing those crimes are not our members. So we have to pray for this upcoming conference that is coming on Wednesday at Ikeja to be a successful one, because it is going to protect public interest.
So basically, anybody can just go buy, the Money Point or OPay and then start his own POS business.
If you want to become a POS operator today, once you provide your information, my dear, an account will be created for you. You make all the necessary payments. You are starting as a POS operator today. But that is not how it used to be when we started 5-6 years ago. You must undergo basic training. The financial institution must visit your location to be sure that you have all the necessary requirements for you to start up that business. But today, reverse is the case.
What are the requirements?
There is a lot of them. Number one, let me just use this platform to pass the information across. Number one, an agent needs to have a location. Then nowadays, you will see people hawking POS. It's illegal. That is what this agent JTF is coming in to treat. You cannot operate POS business, although we normally call it a POS business. The real name is agent banking or agency banking business. So you can't hawk POS. You can't do POS under an umbrella or under the tree. You must have a verified location. Then number two, if you look around nowadays, you find out that most of these POS operators, they don't have record books. When we started, you must have a record book. That's the reason why there's high rate of crime. Then an average POS operator supposed to have a security camera. That is why we are talking about location. So that you can be able to keep record of what is happening, because criminals are taking advantage of the fact that there is no security camera to do a lot of criminal activities within the business premises of the POS operators. Who suffer most? The same POS operator, because police will come after you. So there are a lot of conditions that a POS operator must meet even before you start operations. But today, my dear, you can start within 1 hour.
Just to follow up, you alluded earlier that most of the people who own POS operations are not bankers, rather they are unemployed. Now, someone who is unemployed gets a POS to operate, and then you ask him to install a CCTV camera. How will that actually work out? Are there incentives?
There are alternatives, even if you don't have a CCTV camera. There's what our association in partnership with Nigerian Police are marketing for POS operator, which is called Police VGS. It's a mobile app that can be able to capture image within the agent vicinity and send to the force headquarters. So if you cannot be able to afford security camera, you have an Android phone already. You can install the app and be using it.
All right. Let's talk about commercial banks now.
Okay.
Don't forget, we're still talking about cash scarcity in our banks. Who is responsible? What are the factors that are enabling the scarcity? Now, you would recall that also spraying money at events, it really has not stopped, although authorities have tried to clamp it down.
Okay.
Yeah. Would you say that, or let me rephrase that, how do these people get this cash, the enormous amount of cash to spray at events? Is it from the CBN, that is a banker's bank, or from the commercial banks? What exactly is the role of commercial banks in this scarcity?
Okay, based on the question you asked, how those guys normally source funds, I cannot be able to answer that question. Them themselves are in better position to answer.
But you're a chairman of an association.
That does not mean that I know what is happening in your home.
No, I didn't mention my home. I mentioned what's it called? Commercial banks.
I'm still saying the same thing.
Yes.
That I'm the chairman of Anambra State chapter does not mean that I know what is going on in every POS center within Anambra State.
I'm talking about commercial banks now.
I'm just generalizing issues.
Okay.
So those people that are spreading the money are the right people to answer that question.
Okay, but now let's, because now this issue is here. There's scarcity, whether we like it or not, whether we admit it or not, or whether we blame the POS or the commercial bank or CBN. Question is, what's the alternative? Now, this is a festive period. A lot of people want to go to the markets to buy something. We don't even trust the bank to do transfers anymore, because you send and you're waiting for minutes and hours, sometimes days, sometimes what you see. So what's the alternative? What can we do?
Okay, thank you. Initially, I mentioned, I raised the issue of open market operations. The Central Bank of Nigeria needs to review the way they are handling that issue, because actually it's not working for now. And they need to call for a stakeholder meeting, which I believe my association is supposed to be part of the stakeholder, because we are the grassroots. That is number one. Then on our association level, we are having, at our national level, we are having engagement with major stakeholders like CBN, Bankers Committee, and other top players within the financial sector to see how we can be able to make cash available to POS operators, because we are really suffering now, sincerely speaking.
All right, a very direct question. Is Nigeria ready for a cashless society? Because another angle to this could be they are trying to gradually introduce us to cashless, activities.
That is exactly what is happening.
So are we ready? Are the infrastructures on ground? Are we ready to take off as a cashless society?
The answer is no.
Why is that?
When you look at the infrastructure available right now, especially in the area of network, you discover that we are not yet ready. There was one of my friends that came back from Kenya. He was telling me how beautiful the cashless economy was going on in Kenya, that he wishes that Nigeria can emulate from Kenya, blah, blah, blah. I told him that, Oga, Kenya and Nigeria, they are not the same. Although Nigeria is the giant of Africa, we understand, but for currently now, we are not ready. So it's going to be a kind of gradual process, but right now we are not ready.
All right, thank you very much. This conversation has been an interesting one, honestly. Charges. How do you regulate charges? Just in 1 minute, how do you regulate charges? Because it's quite outrageous, and it's one of the things where people have issues with POS.
Okay, sincerely speaking, like I said earlier, not all POS operators are our members. So for our members, we try